Hey everybody, Steve the here. What's going on? I'm just doing a really quick video. I didn't put any audio on me, so I'm just doing the audio right off of the 5D. You can hear if anyone wants to hear what audio right off the 5D sounds like. This is it. It's a bit roomy. I'm about 3 feet from the camera. If a car or a big truck goes by right outside my apartment, the camera will hear that and bring the audio down. And I'm so busy that I just wanted to get this out quick. What I'm going to do is I've got a whole bunch of questions that people ask me, which is awesome. Love the questions. Thank you so much for watching my channel and sending me your questions. But instead of sitting down and typing and rambling on, I have a tendency to ramble when I answer questions with text. I might as well ramble on the camera and really explain myself clearly rather than leave it up to interpretation with text. So I have a bunch of questions. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions from 6 different people. And I'm going to be messaging these people so that they know that this video is out there. But for anyone who's didn't ask me a question, maybe send me one now, and maybe this can be a video kind of video that I do. Maybe Ask Steve or something, and you know, I'll answer a bunch of questions in a video. Instead of sitting and typing. Maybe that's something I can do. So here we go. First question. Hey Steve, your videos are the best. Thank you. I don't really think so, but I try. But I really appreciate the compliments. It's so awesome. I just bought a 60D and I am now looking for a good microphone. I want the system to be somewhat self-contained. I will be doing some documentary work in places like Africa and other third world countries. I need to be very mobile, but I still want to maintain very good audio quality. Lots of the time I will be outdoors. Sometimes I will be presenting, and others I will be capturing live events. What mic or mics would you suggest? And 60D manual audio? Would it cut it? Would it cut it? And that was from DekeLudwig. Thanks, Deke, for the question. That sounds pretty cool. Going to Africa, that's awesome. I might be going to Jordan sometime in the future to do a documentary as well. So that's pretty cool. My thing to you is, when you're doing documentary, it's hard to be a one-man crew, and I've been a one-man crew before, but it's very hard. It would in order to get very high audio quality, you really need a sound guy. You really need somebody else who has a microphone, a recorder, a mixer, and with a boom mic, and you need to work in tandem. You need to, you know, if someone over here starts talking, or if an elephant starts, you know, blaring and doing something, but you were over here a second ago and your microphone is over there on a stand, you got to take the mic, move it over there, or just hope that the mic on your camera is good enough. And you know, it might not be that good, and you might be on sticks, and the microphone might not be. So if you have somebody else with you who can go around with a boom mic and really dial in the levels and all that stuff, you know, because he'll have the headphones on, he'll be listening, fixing the levels as it goes. If something gets really loud, he'll turn it down, get it perfect. It's hard to rely on equipment to do that. Just like the 5D audio right now that's rolling. If a truck or something really loud happens, the audio comes down, and then I'll keep talking, and I'll be really low. I'll be really low until the camera goes, oh, wait a minute, okay, let me bring that up. So you're gonna get this thing. I mean, I'm sure you're able to fix it in post-production, but maybe you won't be able to. So that kind of sucks. So my first suggestion is find an assistant, find a sound guy. You know, form partnerships with people. Find someone you trust. I don't know if that's possible. If that's not possible, I would say any just shotgun mic, the Rode NTG or the Sennheiser ME66, I believe, is a shotgun mic. Shotgun mics would be good because they're very directional. If you know, let's say, okay, we're in Africa. There's a couple of guys over here, you know, speaking Swahili. And then there's goats in the background going, or you know, some laughing hyenas in the background cackling. You want the audio of the guys doing, you know, speaking. You know, you want to get that audio. If you have an omnidirectional mic, you're gonna pick up all that noise, and it's gonna be very hard to distinguish what they're saying from the hyenas. But if you have a shotgun directional mic, you literally point it at those people, you're picking them up. Yeah, you'll hear the hyenas in the background, but it'll be a little bit lower. You know, it'll be much more. The pickup pattern of the mic is very narrow, so you literally have to point it right at what you're shooting. So, and I would either have that wirelessly going to a recorder like the H4n handy recorder, the Zoom H4n recorder, which I have a tutorial about, or I would buy something like a Rode mic, the Rode series of mics, RODE. They sell boom mics specifically for the 5D, the 60D. It goes right into the mic input. But once again, you're still relying on that auto gain from the 60D. Manual audio 60D, once again, if you have to be concentrating on getting the shot. You have to be concentrating on your f-stop, your shutter speed, your ISO, your focus, you know, all the stuff that's around you. It's very hard to do all of that and be concentrated in getting a really good picture while at the same time going into the manual settings of the 60D to mess with the manual gain. I'm not even sure if you can do it on the fly during recording. I'm not sure. I haven't used the 60D in a while. I've played with it, but I'm not sure if you can manually control the audio while you're recording. If you can, it might be a good solution, but you know, if the microphone is mounted on your camera, you got to be careful that the sound you're making doesn't shake the microphone and do that. But the Rode mics are pretty good, especially if you have a image stabilizer in your lens. The image stabilizer is a physical gyroscope that moves in your lens, and you will pick up that sound if you don't have a microphone. So let me show you. This lens has a stabilizer, so let me turn it on. You hear that grinding noise, and you hear how my audio quality now is a little bit diminished? It's because the gyroscope is spinning and it's making that noise. Exactly. So shut that off. So, but if that's because the internal microphone of the 5D or the 60D picks up the sound of the gyroscope. If you plug in a Rode mic or any mic that's designed for the the DSLRs, it will, you know, the sound is coming from above, and you won't hear you will not hear the gyroscope from a Rode mic connected to your thing. But me, I would probably suggest, I would have probably a microphone stand with a cable to a microphone recorder, and I would just have it nearby if I was shooting, you know, and that would be my guy. And you have to just set the levels the way you think. It's difficult. It's difficult. Alright, next question. Now this was a comment. Some people posted comments as questions in comments on videos, and some people actually messaged me. This was actually a comment on my video, How to Capture and Edit 24p with the Sony V1U. The Sony V1U is a HDV camera, and it only records to tape. It records to mini DV cassette. That's the camera I had before I got the 5D. Its bigger brother, it would be the Sony Z1U or the Sony Z7U. The U stands for United States. If you were in England, it would be Z7E or Z1E. If you were in Japan, it would be the Z1J or the Z7J. I don't know if you care to know about that. But there's different record settings on those cameras. One of those record settings is 24A, and one of those record settings is 24P. It's confusing. So, as the gentleman says, I'm confused. I heard not too long ago from a tutorial that we should shoot in 24A because most NLE programs, NLE means non-linear editing, for instance, your Final Cut Pro, your Sony Vegas, Adobe Premiere, non-linear editing, NLE. I'm sorry. I heard not too long ago from a tutorial that we should shoot in 24A because most non-linear editing programs can't accept 24p, but the guy didn't elaborate on it. I own a Sony HVR Z7U, and I always shoot in progressive record type 24p. And I have, it says KNOW. I have no problem logging and capturing 24p footage into Final Cut Pro 7, or do you mean no NO problems, or do you mean now, I have now a problem logging and capturing 24p? I'll just say I have no, because, you know, some people have brain farts sometimes. So, I always shoot in progressive record type 24p, and I have no problem logging and capturing 24p footage into Final Cut Pro 7. In easy setup, my configurations are format HDV, use 1080p 24 FW basic, and the film rate is 23.98 frames per second. Have I been doing this wrong the whole time? If I shot in 24A, would the footage look more film-like? If I shot in 24A, would the footage look more film-like? Very good question. This is from Ray Tay 101. Okay, now I'm confused because I wasn't sure that the Z7 recorded in 24A or 24P. I didn't know that the Z had the option for 24A. The reason, okay, here's the big confusion. Let me tell it to you. The camera that I had, the V1U, and the reason why I made that video was because there's 24p mode on that camera, and then there's 24A, and I never heard of 24A. 24A is a setting that Sony invented. 24A is not something that goes beyond that camera. It's specific to that camera. It's a weird thing. So don't let that confuse you. Don't let you think like, okay, now I'm learning filmmaking. I just learned about interlaced and progressive, and now there's A. What the hell is A? There is no A. It doesn't exist. It's only for that camera, for the Sony V1U. I'm surprised to hear that that setting is on the Z7U. The reason why is because the Z7U, I know it does record to tape, but I know that you can record to CF cards or to some other kind of media. I remember when I was working at a wedding company and we used the Z7, we had an adapter on the back to record to CF cards. I don't have a CF card near me, but it's basically the same thing that the 5D records on, or the 7D. So we recorded right onto CF cards and just dragged those files into Final Cut, I believe. I didn't really do the editing. So to hear that the Z had 24A is confusing. The reason why there's 24A, it has to do with recording on the tape. That's why the Sony V1U, it only records on tape. You can't record, well maybe you could if you had some sort of adapter or whatever, but the V1U records onto tape only. It's HDV. What 24A does is when you hit record, there's something inside the way, the way that it records to tape, where there's an A frame and a B frame. It might be a C frame, I don't know. But when you hit the record button, if you happen to have last hit the record button ending on a B frame, when you hit the record and it starts to go, it'll skip over that frame and it'll start recording on an A frame. That's why it's called 24A. The reason that so there might be like a small pause when you hit, or when you watch the footage back. There might be a small like jitter. The reason why that is it's easier for the NLE program to find that A frame and then convert it into actual 24 frames per second footage. The 24p look, the 24p on the V1U, so far as I know, is not actually 24 frames a second. It's a look. It's still recording 1080i 60 frames. It's recording that, but it does a film look. So I actually made this mistake. I have on my channel a Clash with Reality music video project, and I shot it in 24A, but I captured it the wrong way. So it looks 24p, and it looks pretty good, but actually in the timeline on the NLE, on Final Cut, it's 25, 26, 27, 28, it's actually 30 frames, but it looks like 24p. It's a film look. So that's the weird thing. So on the V1U and maybe on the Z1U, 24p is a look. You're still actually recording 30 frames a second, but it's a 24p film look. 24A records in 60i. It is once again a look, but it's recorded in such a way that the NLE program can see it and recapture it so that it is 24p. It drops out those frames that it skips over when you hit the record button. So once again, 24p film look, done. 24A film look, but it will be recaptured and taken apart and made into actual 24 frames a second on the timeline by Final Cut Pro by using the Apple Intermediate codec, I think. It's been a while. I believe if you use Apple Intermediate codec, or you know what, don't hold me to that because it's been a while. But I hope that explains things. If you are recording in 24p and you're using these settings, and on your timeline, advance every second and see how many frames are in each second. If on your timeline it's saying 24 frames a second or 23 and then going to 1, like let's say, okay, you're looking at your frames, you advance forward 1 frame at a time. It says 20, 21, 22, 23. If it goes back to 1 and then the next second, if it goes back to 0 and you're at the next second, yeah, it's 24p. If it says 24 frames, 25 frames, 26 frames, 27, 28, 29, then back to the next second, then no, you're in 30p. But does it really matter? Does it still look good? It's up to you. So I don't know if you've been doing this wrong the whole time. If you're actually trying to get 24p and it's not in 24p, then maybe it is wrong, so you're gonna have to check that out. If I shot in 24A, would the footage look more film-like? If you shot in 24A and then captured the footage through the thing I said in this video, making it actual 24p, it probably will look a little more film-like. So there you go. Okay, here's the next one. This is a short one. This is a comment on my video, how to directly transfer files from one Mac to another using target disk mode. Target disk mode. If you want to watch that video, check it out. Great vid. Thanks again. I'm a DJ and I need to transfer all my iTunes music over to my new Mac, but I have all my music categorized on iTunes: hip-hop, country, mex, house, old school, etc. Will it all come out the same onto my new Mac, categorized? That's from JesseCon5. Now, it's been a while since you commented me on this, but so you might have tried already and found out, and I apologize for my delay, but maybe someone out there has the same kind of problem. I honestly don't know, but I strongly believe that yes, it will, because when you put music into your iTunes, like let's say I have a CD, I put it in and I capture it, it connects to the internet and it downloads the data about those songs and should already be part of the CD, the data. So the categories like country, old school, all that stuff is already embedded in the files, even if you download them from the iTunes store. So the metadata doesn't erase from those songs unless you're putting that information in. But even in that case, if you put information in, like let's say you open up the info section of a song and you go to like comments or something, I'm pretty sure you can do that. You can put comments on a song or something like that, or you can put some stuff in. I'm pretty sure like once you move that file elsewhere, that data is still connected to that file. I'm pretty sure. So I would be very surprised in this day and age and the way Mac works, because iTunes is so user-friendly and iTunes is very easy. Anything with an iPhone, they try to make very streamlined and very, very easy to use. I'd be very surprised if you transfer that music over and it's not categorized. But you have to transfer it the old school way. You can't do it via an iPod because, as you probably know, if you have an iPod synced with iTunes and you have 3 days worth of music and all your favorite artists, and you want to transfer from your iPod to another computer, you can, but it'll erase all that music. So, you know what I mean? Like it sucks. Maybe I got that wrong. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm confusing myself. But basically, to put stuff onto an iPod, easy. to take it off pretty easy, but if you go to a friend's house and they have all their music and you come over with your iPod and you want to sync it to their computer, it'll erase all their music and put yours. So it's just, that's weird. So you have to, if you have files, you need to transfer them the old-fashioned way. Either transfer all your music to a hard drive and then bring that music into your new computer, or use target disk mode. Connect the two Macs together and just drag all your music over to the other hard drive, and then boom, you're good. If you have an iPod, so long as I guess they're both identical, you should be pretty fine. All right, next question. This was actually sent to me in a private message. Questions. So this is a two-parter. Steve, first I want to thank you for the video on how to export HD videos from Final Cut Pro to DVD Studio Pro and fit it on a single layer DVD. That really saved my day. Awesome. That's exactly why I'm making these videos, to save people's asses in their day. I'm really grateful that it did. You're welcome, and if there's anything else I can do, let me know, and I'll answer this question for you. I have a few questions for you. Does double layer DVDs work on Macintosh? I have a MacBook Pro 2010, and in the tech specs it says that it supports DL, which is dual layer, DL, DVD burning. My question goes for the types of plus or minus kind of DVD dual layer. I really want to know this one. Okay, so I made a video, that video where I said how to export HD video from Final Cut Pro using DVD Studio Pro and getting it onto a single layer DVD. You can check out the video right here. At the end of that video, I made a comment, and I said, for Macintosh, you need DVD minus R. If you're using a PC, it's DVD plus R. I was very adamant about this. I said that coming from an old school mentality. I learned that fact, DVD minus R, only use DVD minus Rs for Mac and only use DVD plus Rs for PC. I learned that like years ago, probably 4 years ago. I'm assuming that it's changed by now. I'm assuming that it doesn't matter anymore. I'm assuming. So I'm assuming that you can use DVD plus Rs on Macs and vice versa. I would think by now, 4 years since I learned that things would be okay. Question, yes, it does, Macs do support dual layer. In fact, I just had to do it. I didn't burn a DVD like you could watch, but I had to give lots of files to people, and the cheapest way I could see was getting a couple dual layer DVDs. I bought dual layer DVD plus R. If you were listening to that video and I say don't use DVD plus R, I have to say that I have to make like an annotation and say like that's probably out of date. I bought DVD plus R dual layer and worked fine. Now dual layer, for anyone who doesn't know, means twice as much capacity. So a regular layer DVD is 4.7 gigabytes. A dual layer DVD has twice that capacity, so it's here somewhere. Obviously it's 8 something, or 9. Shit. I can't find it, but whatever. It's 4.7 times 2. I want to say it's like 8.9. I don't think it's really 4.7 times 2, which would be 4 carry the 1, 9.4. I think it's a little less. I think it's like 8.7 gigabytes. But obviously, more data, the higher quality file you can make. The higher quality file, the better it'll look, and you can get a better looking thing. So I do suggest trying it out, getting a dual layer, and if you're trying to give someone something on DVD, a video, normally you had to compress it down. Yes, it's going to be SD. It's not going to be HD. Dual layer DVDs are not HD. Only Blu-rays are HD. And yes, they do make dual layer Blu-rays. A regular layer Blu-ray is about 25 gigabytes. A dual layer Blu-ray is like 50 gigabytes. That's HD. DVDs are not HD, but compression compression deals with your image quality. If you have like 4 hours of footage and you need to compress it down to 4.7 gigabytes, especially if it's HD footage turning into SD, it's going to be compressed. It might have some artifacts. It might look a little choppy. If you have 8.7 gigabytes to work with, it's twice as big of a file. It's going to be less compressed, and it's going to look a little bit better. So if you do have lots of footage and you really need to get it down, dual layer DVD might be the way to go. I hope I answered your question in there somewhere. Second question from this gentleman. My other question is, on the 3.5.3 version of Apple Compressor, I get the option for HD DVD, H.264, to fit on a DVD-5. So I picked that one up to see what's up. Now I'm waiting for it to finish. Have you tried it before? No, I never tried that before. That's out of date as well. This is when HD DVD and Blu-ray were still fighting the war, and Compressor picked HD DVD. So if you have an old version of Compressor, like Compressor 3.5.3, it's going to give you settings for HD DVD, which is funny. I'm not exactly sure if that matters. Like it says HD DVD H.264. So it's an H.264 file it's an HD, but I guess they were assuming that HD DVD was gonna become the standard name, because that's what it is. This was in a time when there were DVDs, and now there's an HD DVD Blu-ray. They didn't know what to call it, so they thought the safest bet, they thought the standard would just be an HD DVD. They didn't know that that was going to be gone and Blu-ray was going to take over. So, and I don't know what a DVD-5 is. I have no clue. So, I'm assuming it's just a regular DVD. So, yeah. No clue. But anyway, I hope that answered your questions, and that was from P, username patonomas. Alright, just two more. This one was messaged to me. It says, hey, I was wondering if you could help me out with something. So I have a second MacBook, and I want to transfer one application, Photoshop. How do I do this? Or how do I copy Photoshop and paste it to my other MacBook? Hope to hear back. This is from Freddie, username DOUBLEsDGAFXD. Okay, Freddie. Well, it depends on if you bought Photoshop legally or if you illegally downloaded Photoshop, which I do not condone. That is stealing. If you bought Photoshop legally, then I would assume you have installation discs, CDs. If you do, they probably gave you multiple serial numbers, or that one serial number should work on up to 4 computers, I think. So if you still have those installed discs, go find them and install it on your new Mac. I'm not sure if you can just copy and paste, because they design these programs to be hard to transfer to another computer because of money. If someone could easily transfer a working application from one computer to another very easily, then it would be stolen so quickly. One person would buy it and then give it to everyone he knows. It'd just be so easy. Yeah, so it's not going to be easy to just take the application and transfer it. There's lots of little files hidden in places, in your library, in lots of different areas, different things to help it run, or in weird spots. So you're never going to be able to just copy and paste. You're going to have to reinstall it. Unless you have an illegal version that's cracked, that is like in its own little bubble, then it should work. Then it also, I guess, depends on the version. If it's or if it's the latest version, it's going to have a lot of backup. It's going to have a lot of stuff in it to make sure it doesn't get pirated. If it's an older version, it might be easier to transfer. So I would suggest either reinstalling it using the discs, or I don't condone stealing, but I do believe in Robin Hood. If you're a professional photographer and you're making lots of money doing photography, then you should probably reinvest some of that money into buying Photoshop. If you're down on your luck and you're struggling hard to make it as a photographer, and you could be good, except that the Photoshop is just so expensive, you're being held down by this weight. I'm not going to condone stealing, but I feel for you. I feel for you. In this day and age, Final Cut, like Final Cut Pro, not X, but Final Cut Pro is like, you know, the whole suite's like $1,200. If you're just like if you're like a 15-year-old kid that loves editing and wants good stuff, you either have to be rich or you have to be, you know, a parent's not going to spend $1,200 plus that on a computer to run it, and the monitors, you know, for a 15-year-old kid who might just drop it in a few months, you know. So I feel for you, you know. I'm not going to say you should steal it, and I'm not going to tell you how. But I'm sure you know someone who can, and I'm sure you know some crazy hacker person who can tell you about torrents and all that stuff. So, next question. Alright, we've made it to the end, and I saved, last but not least, definitely, a fan of mine who's become like a YouTube friend, Mr. Akash, also known as DarthXboxian. This is your question. Once again, if you're hearing trucks and stuff outside, I really apologize. I'm trying to talk loud. I'm trying to talk. It sucks living on the ground floor. So I'm going to try and talk loud so that you can hear me over the damn truck. Alright, so from DarthXboxian, I'm already eager to start on a bigger project, but with that comes yet another question I want to turn to you for. Haha. He's asked me questions in the past, obviously. Can you somehow film something on digital, like my Canon 60D, and then convert it to film? Because digital picture only has so much resolution. Do you know anything about that? Last but not least, how have you been? Well, thank you, Akash. I've been well. Busy, lots of projects. Can't complain. This is a really good question. It's something I probably would have asked as well, being a filmmaker, going to film school. So far as I know, no. There's no way to record something digitally and turn it into film. Actually, you probably could. There's probably some telecine, which is a cross between television and cinema. Telecine. There are definite ways of getting something from digital and putting it on film. Even if it has to do with projecting something digitally and then filming the wall and recording that on film. So there are lots of different telecine methods to transfer things from digital to film and film back to digital. The thing is, you really wouldn't want to do it with the 60D or the 5D. And the reason why is exactly what you're saying, the resolution. The 5D, the T2i, the 60D, they record 1,080 lines of resolution. We consider that in the consumer world as high def. Old school, the 4:3 format, was 480 lines of resolution. So when I grew up with 4:3, all my TVs growing up were 4:3. I never knew that it was 480 lines of resolution. You know, some people have a really big screen, huge screen TV, and you're like, wow, that's a big screen, the picture looks great. It's still 480 lines of resolution. It's just a really big screen. So, you know what I mean? It's the same with HD, you know, I mean, you can get 60-inch, 70-inch, 100-inch, but it's still 1080 lines of resolution, 1080. And they also consider 720 lines high definition. So there's two different formats of HD. There's 720 lines of resolution and there's 1080 lines of resolution. 1080 is obviously higher, but the difference is so subtle that most people don't really care. And 720p HD TVs are much cheaper than 1080. So that's the thing. The 5D records the highest on our tier, you and me, our filmmaking tier. There are cameras, digital cameras, that shoot higher resolution than that. There are cameras that shoot something called 2K resolution, which is 2,000 lines of resolution. There are also cameras out there, like maybe something that Star Wars was shot on, there's digital, that's 4K. 4,000 lines of resolution. Now those sensors, the light capturing devices inside those cameras are huge. They're like this big. The sensor in the 5D is pretty big. I mean, the 5D is a 21 megapixel camera. That's something like 3,800 lines of resolution horizontal, I believe. So the sensor in the 5D, if it could record using the entire sensor, it would be almost 4K. It would be 2K at least. So that's what's crazy. The reason why it doesn't is because a heat issue. It would be very hot and it would probably melt the shit inside the camera. And number two, you can't record that much data as a movie onto CF cards. CF cards can only handle a certain amount of bit rates a second, and 4K or 2K coming off of the raw sensor would overload. It would be too big to transfer to a CF card. So it records. It takes the sensor and records it onto 1080. It takes the full image, but it squeezes it down to 1080p and it compresses it into an H.264 codec, making the file smaller, much more compressed, very tightly compressed, and then able to fit onto the CF card. That's how our 5Ds work. A camera like the Red is a digital camera that shoots 2K, and then there are like the crazy, like the Genesis and the Panavision digital cameras that shoot 4K. The reason why... Now, okay, so now that you know that, wow, there are digital cameras that can shoot higher resolution than 1080p. Why? Like, all the TVs we watch are only 1080p. Why would we need to record an image higher than 1080p if we're only going to be watching it on 1080p? Well, the thing is, film, and I'm talking film from the day of its creation, you know, the 1890s, 1920s, film doesn't really work in lines of resolution. Film's a picture. So I guess that equates to pixels or film grain. So how much resolution is in one frame of film, 35mm film, as opposed to how much resolution is, you know, compared to 1080p? I honestly don't know, but I know it's very high. I know that when you shoot something on 35mm, it equates to something like 5,000 lines of resolution. The image is that clear. The image is that good. So all of the digital pictures we have, 1080, the 2K, the 4K, even 4K, even that high resolution digitally is not as clear resolution-wise as 35mm film. And then you can even get to like IMAX film, which is 72mm, which is like the same kind of resolution but a bigger image. So you're talking maybe 8,000 lines of resolution. I don't even know. So there's the thing. Up until the digital era, we would go to movies that were shot on 35mm, and the movie houses got 35mm prints, 35mm film in these big canisters, these giant projectors projecting 35mm film higher than any HD that exists now. And you're sitting there in this movie theater watching a beautiful picture, just a beautifully clear image. And now digital comes along, and it makes lots of stuff cheaper because there's no film processing. You don't have to buy the film. You don't have to process the film. You don't have to reprocess it. That saves so much money. Film is so expensive. Even before digital, film is very expensive. It's why they cost so much money, because film processing is a lot. So digital comes around, makes productions really cheaper. Problem is, there's no way to show it in a screen, you know? That's why they had to make digital projections. So now when you go to movie theaters, you hear like, oh, DLP, oh, we've got digital screen projectors in here. That's awesome, and I'm sure it looks great, and it's probably projecting at 2K. It might even be projecting at 4K, which is very high resolution, but it's not as high resolution as film projector. So all this digital stuff is just trying to get to where film is. And film's here. Shooting on film and the quality of film, the way it looks is here. And digital, you know, it started here with television, you know, and now, you know, then we got the mini DV cassettes and the high 8, you know. And now at 4K, we're like getting there, you know, but even though it's closer, it's still a long way to go, you know. But digital technology is getting there. More and more theaters are getting equipped with DLP digital projectors that can project in 4K. And instead of getting these giant film reels where some technician has to sit there and literally change the reel, these big things, these platters they call them, now movie theaters that only have DLP projectors, they get a hard drive with a 4K file of whatever it was shot on. And it might have been shot on film. So there comes your tennis telecine. They probably shot the movie on 35mm film, but then use a telecine process to digitally convert it. I'm not sure how that works. I know it's probably a really sophisticated light capturing device where they probably feed the film through, and like light comes through. It's pretty. I would assume it would be just like a camera, just like a camera with a sensor, a very high quality sensor that can convert light into images, and maybe they might go frame by frame, you know, and take a picture at 4K and then stitch that all together and make something. I don't know, but whatever it is, the telecine process is probably very expensive, and it's probably very, very high quality to get an image that's 35mm to 4K, 4,000 lines of resolution, which is down-resing it from film. So, long answer, I know, but I do know something about it, believe it or not. So I hope that answered your question. Well, basically, I didn't really answer it. So it says, can you somehow film something on digital and then convert it to film? You could. You could totally convert something from the 5D to film, I would assume. It would be very expensive, but there's no reason to, because you're not going to gain any more resolution. The camera, the 5D, your 60D records at 1080p. If you turn that into film, it's just going to be a 1080p digital picture put onto film. The film, it's not going to make the picture look any better. You can't, you know, you can't have a milkshake and then take the ice cream out and the milk out, separate that. It's all mixed together. You know, you can't make resolution better. You can only start at the top and down res it. You know, a lot of people will film something in SD, but then convert it to HD and then upload it and like say, oh, look at my YouTube video, it's in HD. It's not in HD. The file's in HD. The computer thinks it's in HD, but it's still 4:3 and it's still 480 lines of resolution. It's just rendered to look HD. Well, I got about maybe 30 seconds left before the camera cuts off. I hoped these answered your questions pretty well. Please keep them coming, and happy editing, happy filmmaking, and I'll see you next time. I'm Steve DeCasa. Peace.